It's time for the Albion Mag Radio Show. Well, a very good morning and warm welcome to the Albion Mag Radio Show with myself, Dean Kilford, and Leon Cox.
Morning.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm trying to sound peppy and upbeat because we're on the radio, and you don't want to put people off with your downbeat despondency.
Yeah, that's not a great way to start, is it?
No, exactly.
Of course, big thank you to our friends, partners, Jalapeno Records. We'll be hearing some tunes from them. We'll also have a special tune coming up from Miss Franklin in honour. Thanks to Dan Testo, our Supremo big fan, as we all are.
Big funk and soul fan, and obviously, I think most people who know anything about music were saddened by Aretha Franklin's passing this week. So, Dan suggested that we would pay a little tribute to her, as I'm sure many radio stations are, deservedly so.
Yes, that was coming up later on in the show. What have we got to talk about today? Well, unfortunately, we're a radio show, so we've got to talk about it. We've got to talk about last week. We've got to talk about the Watford game. We'll obviously preview the United game tomorrow, the Manchester United game. We'll have the non-league roundup, of course, and some other stories around the football world that you may or may not have come across this week. But let's get this out of the way. It's like ripping the Band-Aid off. Yeah. If I was American. Don't know why I said Band-Aid, but
you can buy Band-Aids here.
Yeah,
it's a brand.
It is.
It's like saying a Hoover instead of a vacuum cleaner.
I'm hopefully not having to rip a Hoover off.
No.
The Watford game, I was optimistic. You justifiably had a bit of pessimism going into the game.
I'm annoyed because I only said 2-1 in the end because I didn't want to sound too negative, but I was actually thinking 2-0. But it wasn't the result that was so disappointing and has left me a little concerned and downcast. It was the performance. Now, I didn't see it firsthand because we were doing a radio show and I wasn't in Watford, but I heard it, and I've spoken to people who were there, and I've read the match reports and seen
the lack of highlights on.
Yeah, I mean, we had 3 off-target shots, I think, in the whole game. One header just wide, I think, from Murray. One sort of speculative effort from Stevens. And Bissouma came on and tried to take things by the scruff of the neck. But I think the game was already gone. Pereira had obviously done the damage. And it was a concern, I think. It's not that, as I say, it wasn't that I expected us to go there and, rip them apart. I'm always quite sort of critical of fans who, of ours who have the attitude of, we should be beating teams like Watford and all that sort of nonsense. But I'd like us to give teams like Watford a better game.
Well, just given a performance, it seems so... I've been trying to come up with a word to sum up my obviously we can only go off the reports of listening to it. I actually had a rare Saturday being able to listen to it, which was very nice, but it wasn't, because it was just almost like we were still in pre-season mode and hadn't realised that actually we should be playing now. This isn't just a kick around in the park. Boys, this is 3 points on the line.
Yeah, hopefully it's a bit of a wake-up call. We did comment on the fact that pre-season results hadn't been overwhelming, and this performance was similarly underwhelming.
Maybe that is a factor. Maybe the over exuberance, the hard training, maybe that has been a bit. Maybe that's too. Maybe that they're still learning to come to terms with that. And therefore, on the pitch on a warm Saturday, they didn't have the energy levels they needed to compete. I don't know. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, clutching at straws.
Of why?
No, I mean, I haven't looked at the Opta stats or the detailed, the breakdown data of everybody's, movement or anything like that. How much ground we covered or at what speeds or anything like that. But despite. I could hear the Albion faithful on the radio coming through loud and clear, giving them the best support they could. It sounds like they weren't able to get themselves fully up for it and in full-blown match mode. And also, I suppose it does, we were talking about the sort of the run of results we're on. Obviously, we did beat Man United in the relatively latter stages of the season, but overall our
Well, away form continues its stretch of being the worst by some margin in
away
the
form's
top flight.
poor, and overall results haven't been great in recent times. And then my despondency was layered on. I listened to was it Totally Football Show or Guardian? One of the podcasts I listened to, but it was a season preview, and I ended up listening to it after the season had started. And noted football expert Julien Laurent, more of a French football expert, but he covers the gamut.
Knows his onions.
He knows his onions, and he was saying that he tipped us one of the teams to go down. This was, as I say, before the Watford game, so it wasn't a reactive comment. Basically saying that he's seen. He thinks that Houghton's going to do what he did before at Norwich, which is to, after a season of pragmatism and caution, he's going to get overexcited and try to play more attacking, winning football, and that's going to be our downfall in a horrible case of second season syndrome. So on Monday I was like, oh no, this is horrible.
Well, if you couple that along with the extreme bedwetting as a phrase that's got after that, it's just one game. Like, this is the thing. It was so disappointing, and you have to put in context, there are 38 games. Okay, we didn't turn up to the first one, and we can't afford that to happen too much in the season. Otherwise, we will be in that situation of second season syndrome, staring down, looking at the championship. But it's just one game, and maybe it could be a blessing in disguise. Maybe.
The danger is, of course, that with the games we've got coming up, we're adrift after 3 games.
Well, we've got a tough... we have got a tough run coming.
I mean, Palace lost their first 7 last season and stayed up comfortably.
Well, they didn't score until November, which... yes.
So I really hope we don't go that way about it.
No.
but it just goes to show that, obviously, because there's so many... column inches to fill, and I'm talking about radio airwaves and TV as well, that of course the first games are given far more sort of relevance than perhaps they actually ever really have.
Yeah, if this performance had taken place at the end of November, maybe it probably wouldn't.
Yeah, if we're already on a sensible number of points, but. Yeah, as I've been trying to rationalise it and not catastrophise, but we are in exactly the same position as we are after one game last season. The only difference is the opposition.
Yes. Or you could look at it that we're 1 point worse off than we were last season.
No, we lost our first game.
No, I mean against Watford.
Oh, I see. Yes, no, that's also true. Yeah, because we got
one of our few away points.
Yes, that is true.
And maybe, and I was guilty of this, and maybe this is another reason of underestimating Watford. I know we spoke about how good they are historically in the first 4 months of the season, and they tail away. But I didn't expect they turn up, and I don't know, maybe we let them play, but they came out all guns blazing and looked and did the job that they need to. And maybe we were... Going into the season with the new sign, we were a bit too, not confident, because we were cautious, and I predicted a draw, you predicted a defeat, but maybe we underestimated Watford slightly. I
think if we'd had that game at home, I think we probably would have put in a very different performance, probably more like Watford did for their fans. I think it would have been, it would have felt a bit different, and the players probably would have found it easier to get up for a home game, a winnable home game. Not a guaranteed win, but winnable, and it might have been very different. But yeah, it's no excuse really. I think I've heard from a few of the players in the week, and there's been no attempt to
no excuses, no sugarcoating. No, it's just an acknowledgement of that was not
up to snuff. No. Yes, Glenn Murray was on 5 Live last night for a good couple of hours, talking at length. In the studio with Fletcher and Jermaine Genus, being typically, for his modern day self, avuncular and articulate and honest. It was a good listen, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to check that one out. Missed that one.
Listen again.
So we move on. The week goes by. We've got Man United to come, but before that, I think we're just going to mention, obviously you can get involved with the show at TAM Radio Show, Twitter, Facebook, our thread on North Stand Chats. You posted a poll this week, which is still going. When's it run out? In about 20 minutes or so?
It should run out during the show if all goes
if
to
all
plan.
time's going to plan. But it's caused a bit of a stir. And for those of you listening that aren't aware of this, there's a rumour that the club will be putting flags on the seats for our first game of the season.
Yeah.
So is that a nice touch? Is that, to create an atmosphere for our second season in the Premier League? It doesn't seem that everyone has that point of view, that it's a jolly experience and occasion.
Well, it has become something of a tradition in the Amex era to dole out flags for the first home game and certain other fixtures. But I did. I was prompted by a thread on North Stand Chat, and the people who were moved to respond to it initially were sort of saying, that it was, kind of happy clappy modern football rubbish.
What's all wrong with modern football? all of this claptrap going on,
that kind of thing,
something like that.
Yeah. So I thought, well, this is obviously a hot button issue, so let's make our poll about that. So simply I gave our Twitter followers the three options of: my flag will be waving, my flag will be landfill, or I am ambivalent to flags. So far, from 187 votes, ambivalence and landfill are tied on 26% apiece.
Okay.
So in total, that makes up for more than... So the other 48% are going to be waving their flags. I reckon more than 48% of people in the stadium tomorrow will be waving their flags. But
I'm surprised it's that positive now, because when I last checked, it was a lot more negative than that. So interesting. Well, if you want to have your say, head over at TAM Radio Show on Twitter and get your vote in.
Yeah, rock the vote if you want.
Interesting. So we'll get to the results and I'll get your personal feelings on it later on. The other stories of the football world, there's a couple of really good stories. Oh, well, good stories in the sense that
entertaining stories. One of them's a feel-good story.
Well, we'll do the feel-good story first, because I like Barnsley FC deserve a round of applause, where their club spotted one of their regular season ticket holders, regular fans on Twitter, had been obviously unhappy, had been posting sad, depressive thoughts on his Twitter, and they sent him a letter. And coming from your football club, I'd imagine Brighton and Hove Albion sending you this message. Sorry for sending the letter at random, but I feel like I wanted to reach out to you and get in touch. I've noticed through social media you've had a bit of a hard time recently. Not sure what it is, but I hope everything improves for you as soon as possible. You've been a fan of the club for many years and always supported us, so we want you to know that if the favour needs returning, we will support you. Do let us know. You're welcome to swing by any time. My office door is always open, and we finally got a new coffee machine. A huge thanks to Alfie Mawson for that. Alternatively, you may have noticed the squiggle on the back of the players' lettering. It's for the Mind charity. They're an EFL partner this season and do some really great work. I've included their details below. Signed from the chairman, and it's got the details of the Mind charity. But what a touch that is!
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Like, that's fantastic. Just
the fact that they're actually
engaging and proactively looking for what their fan is.
Yeah,
that's a club with a heart. That's a club that really care about their supporters.
Yeah. Again, it's easy. It's very easy to be cynical about moves like that and say, "Oh, it's great PR. It's great PR." Well, yeah, it is great PR, but it's also like it's great PR because it's a nice thing to do. And actually, perhaps we shouldn't be so cynical about these things and just hope that it's a positive thing that actually some other clubs could learn a bit from. And I do get the feeling this is probably everything that's wrong with modern football, but I feel the game has become more community spirited again in recent times. Obviously, yes, there are issues about how expensive the game is and all that sort of thing, but actually with the advent of social media, for all the negative side of it, it does allow players and fans and clubs to get directly in touch with each other more than ever before, because throughout the sort of previous decades, I mean, I know some people did, there are some fans who would phone up the club and have a conversation about some issue or whatever. very unusual that it would be the other way around. Although I have heard anecdotally of certain managers kind of phoning up fans and back in the 70s,
day,
80s, 90s, sort of saying, so what are we doing right and wrong? But I think this should be the norm, really. Sort of without the fans, the clubs are nothing.
But you say the people that say that it's a PR stunt, no one forced the fan to put a picture of that actual letter.
No.
It wasn't done on social media. It was a letter sent to that fan's house.
That's a very good point.
So they may have... I don't think there's any PR spin on this. I think it's a genuine attempt from a club that's bonded with its supporters, and you do see it down, you go further down the pyramid, non-league level, you have that. I know Lancing do great work, and I think if you do suffer, I think you can go to their games for free. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they've got a deal with Minds that if you are suffering, you can go and watch football as a way of expressing and enjoyment. But going up that high, Barnsley were a Premier League club. I know we're going back to the late 90s, but they're a club that have been at that level and still to be connecting is... Would that happen? Would that happen now? I can't see it happening necessarily, but maybe one day. I don't know.
It's hard to know. I assume this came out of whoever runs Barnsley's social media actually just paying attention to the Barnsley FC hashtag or whatever and following some fans and actually remembering that they're human beings, and it probably went from there. They probably raised it. Somebody in the social media team probably raised it, and it got escalated. And
but you're assuming that Barnsley have a big social media team.
It's probably It's probably I don't know. It's probably one bloke or one woman.
But anyway,
in an office.
Big hats off to Barnsley.
Yeah, well done.
We'll commend you. Not so commendable. Chorley Council.
Oh, Chorley.
Chorley Council. You may have heard this story. They sent a letter to several football clubs telling them that their fans aren't welcome in their town anymore.
Chorley, I never knew until this story that Chorley was such a hotbed of footballing activity.
No. I've failed to include the original letter. I've got the response, though, the backlash that the Chorley Council received. So I've got their response to the criticism they received.
Yeah.
And Chorley, of course, have apologised for any offence caused by telling people they're not welcome in their town. A letter sent to Burnley, Bolton, Preston, Wigan and Blackburn suggested travelling football supporters were not welcome amid claims the shoppers had been intimidated by large groups congregating outside local pubs. But the council have now clarified their position, insisting fans on their way to the ground are welcome, but not in large groups.
That's what?
Exactly.
How are you going to arrange that?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry, guys, you're not welcome anymore.
It's like school kids in the corner shop, isn't it?
Yeah.
2 at a time.
So further on. I was just going to see what we can't have, and which has triggered the concerns from traders, is a situation where large groups of fans gathering in pubs, spilling out into the streets, intimidating or being seen to be intimidating other people using the town centre.
Well, yes. To a point. I think some groups of large groups of not just football fans, but
just in general,
geezers, lads. Sometimes they act in an intimidating fashion, but most of the time they don't. They just stand there chatting and whatever else. It's not like this is one group of away fans going to kind of annex the town. This is actually fans of a number of clubs just congregating. If it had escalated into, a turf war between, say, Blackburn and Burnley fans, then you could understand. Yeah. But they're just talking about people having a drink.
Generic. And 6 clubs that may come by this area having a drink,
and bringing a load of money into the town as well.
Well, they've shot themselves in the foot, maybe they're Chorley. So we do like Barnsley, we don't like Chorley.
What's the nearest place to Chorley that all these fans could go to? Because they should just register a protest. And again, talking about PR, whoever it is, the nearest
town,
place
should just go. You're welcome here, guys.
Yeah.
In fact, maybe we should get someone setting up a little mobile bar somewhere just outside the town.
A big mobile bar.
Well, maybe
several trailers linked together.
Yeah. But there could be a business thing there.
Yeah.
If you're listening and happen to be in the northern area,
you've got some capital.
Go for it. We've given you a barnstorming idea. So there are a couple of stories that I just think that it's good to find out what's going on outside of our little bubble. Yeah.
Association football.
Yes. I think it's time. We probably should have a little break. And we did say we would pay tribute to the great Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul. And this is the house that Jack built.
This is a house that Jack built, y'all. Remember this house? This was the land that he worked by hand. It was the dream of an upright man. There was a room that was filled with love. It was a love that I was proud of. This is a life that he planned on the love, the same old love in the house that Jack built. The house that Jack built. Remember this house? There was a fence that held our love. Yes, it was. There was a gate that he walked out of. This is my heart, it is turned to stone. Yes, it is. This is a house, it ain't no home. This is a love that I destroyed on the day that I toyed with love in the house that Jack built. The house that Jack built. I'm gonna remember this house. Oh, what's the use of crying? You know I brought it on myself, there's no denying. But it seems awful funny that I didn't understand until I lost my upright man. Up on the hill there, the things stand still in the house that Jack built. The house that Jack built. I'm gonna remember this house. The house that Jack built. Listen, I got the house, I got the car, I got the rug, and I got the rack, but I ain't got Jack. Jack, and I will pull my Jack back. Jack, Jack, Jack. I turned my back on Jack, you said he wasn't coming back. I turned my back on Jack, you said he wasn't coming back. Oh, Jack, you ought to come on back. Come on, oh, Jack, come on back, Jack. You ought to come on back. Come on back, Jack. To the one that you built. Come on back, Jack. It's the same one you built. Come on back, Jack. You ought to come on back, Jack. Come on, come on. Oh, now, Jack. Come on, why don't you come on? I didn't understand until I lost my upright man. Come on back, Jack.
The house that Jack built, Aretha Franklin. You're listening to the Albion Mag radio show on 1BTN, available online, DAB digital and 101.4 FM. Dean Kilford, Leon Cox in the studio. We've still got our poll going on Twitter about the flags potentially in use for tomorrow's game against Manchester United. Are you for, against or don't care? They're your three options. Get voting at TAM Radio Show on Twitter. Speaking of the house that Jack built, the house that Tony Bloom built, kind of.
Nice.
That's the segue.
DJ stylings there.
The club held their open day, which they do every year. This year you
While
were
the school
there.
holidays are still on. Yeah.
Good day, good morning.
Yeah, it's very pleasant. I took the day off work. It was Tanya, my partner's birthday as well.
Nice.
So we sort of tied that in. Her dad met us there. It's a nice time. I mean, I think it's probably more for the kids because they get to, all the players line up and sign stuff, and obviously that's very exciting. Well, I say it's for the kids. I would get excited too, but I'm too embarrassed at 46 years old to stand there waiting for people's signatures. But no, it's a nice time, and it's a little glimpse behind the scenes. Obviously, they definitely focus on training that is more aesthetically interesting than just they don't just run up and down the terraces anymore or whatever. They tend to break off into, it tends to be ball related exercises. And Glenn Murray, when he was on 5 Live last night, was actually talking about how they do spend a lot of time without the ball in training, and it's always a blessed relief when they get to play with one. So I suspect the players enjoy training at the Amex and getting applauded when they do something nice. And
Anything catch your eye?
Bissouma. Yeah, Bissouma looks a bit special to me, and actually that was another thing that Julien Laurent said. He said, I think in Bissouma they've got like a real player, somebody who may be above and beyond their kind of Brighton's stature and status. And he's speaking as a French football expert.
Interesting.
And he looks like he wants to play. Like, he was busting a gut. he was putting in.
Well, he was probably the one positive which we didn't mention
Yes.
of the Watford game.
Yeah, he came on and tried to
affect the game.
Tried to affect the game. Yeah, he looks like a force to be reckoned with, and technique up to the eyeballs as well. The one that sticks in the mind was a sort of scissors kick in the air, volleyed finish to one sort of nice passing manoeuvre. He clearly wants to catch the eye,
right?
And it's the sort of stuff that I think a lot of players perhaps wouldn't necessarily do in training because it's kind of a bit flair. I mean, I don't know. I see videos of players kind of showing off all the time, but I just got this vibe that he wanted to catch the fans' eyes and get us all kind of buzzing about him, and it's worked because here we are on the radio going,
look at this guy, yeah.
Look at this guy. So, I hope he lives up to this promise, and I was pleased. I was pleased to hear that from somebody who knows a bit more about him than I do, to say that we've got a real signing there. It's just ridiculous now because we're signing players like him for. However much he was he like 16 or something?
Yes, they all seem to be around the same price.
And we're just kind of going, and then we signed some more people. So, and we like.
This could be the not to say the diamond amongst the rough, but this could be the jewel of the crown of signings for this summer.
Potentially, yeah. Hopefully, him and Jahan Baksh will tear the place up, and I guess we may get to see Montoya this weekend as well.
Was he?
He was there. He didn't particularly stand out. But he's a right back, so it's hard. It's easier for an attack-minded midfielder to kind of make a big show. And maybe I had my eyes on him a bit as well. But he did catch my eye. I can't deny it.
Good to see. Well, we'll find out. We'll find out tomorrow. Also, speaking of players that we've signed in and out the door, Percy Tau.
Yeah.
Which we expected him to go on loan because they've said that as soon as so.
Yeah.
He's gone to the Belgian club. I've forgotten the name of the Belgian club off the top of my head. Royal Union Saint Gilloise.
Or Gilloise.
Gilloise.
Not Gauloise, the famous French cigarette. I don't know anything about this club. I'd be lying.
No,
I could have done my research, but I'm afraid I didn't have time. So that's all I know.
It's a lot of players. That's the Belgian league seems to be. They must have very relaxed rules in the Belgian league because a lot of players. I know Antwerp. A lot of players used to go there in order to get their. Is it to get their? I know they want to get a acclimatise to European football, but it must be to do with some kind of work permit
related. Yes.
So that's all good for another 6 months or 8 months.
Yeah, potentially. I was going to say potentially post what if it happens. Let's not get into that.
No, I did read a story this week because a couple of chairmen spoke about. I thought we'll save that conversation
if and when
for another day. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the Belgian league seems to be quite a popular league for players to go and ply their trade and. Yeah. So
hopefully
we'll keep tabs on him as we do our loan watch, which we'll get back up and running.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah. Other news this week: the Carabao Cup. Of course, this is the first year where it's not seeded. It's still done into sections, so it's still the northern and southern sections, but they've done away with the seeding. Hence why we've got the only all Premiership tie. We've drawn Southampton.
I think it's safe to assume Southampton are a team like us that a number of pundits have suggested might actually be in a relegation fight this season. So I think it's safe to assume that this will be a couple of B team lineups in the early stages of the Carabao. They've also done away with any extra time.
Yeah, straight to penalties.
Straight to pens. There's VAR at Premier League grounds, so this will be the only game in the because there'll be some other home Premier League ties. Okay,
but it's guaranteed.
It is guaranteed VAR. I think I've heard some suggestion that maybe they should look. I mean, they sort of already are heading down this path, but actually making the League Cup almost like a slightly different format of football in the same way as 2020 or whatever it's called now.
Yeah.
Actually talking about even changing the length of the match or the number of players or something to make it recognisably football, but something that's slightly alternative to give it its own identity. Personally, I wouldn't want them mucking around with things like the length of the game or the number of players, but I think there are conversations to be had around the format of the competition. You were suggesting something radical last week, which is to play the whole thing in a fortnight or something.
Well, it's just, throwing it out there.
Blue sky
Well,
thinking.
funny you should say
Should be on a
about
committee.
the funny you should say about the players situation, because one of the youth leagues, and I don't know which league this is off the top of my head, is experimenting that if a team goes 4-0 down, they get to add another player onto the pitch. So this is there's a couple of
actually
youth.
helpful.
I don't. Well, that's what they're experimenting with this year. And another friend of mine that's playing Sunday football in London, they're experimenting this year with the sin bin.
I was going to say sin bin is the obvious.
Sin bin is being trialled in Sunday league football. So let's see how that works out.
More players in the bin than on the pitch.
Yes.
If you get, the rule of the law that if you have, I think it's 5 players sent off from one side, the game is automatically handed
because you have to have 7 players on the pitch.
So it's 3-0. It goes, I think, as an automatic 3-0 to the opposition. What happens if you have 5 sin binned at one time? Does that, and if they all end up, because presumably the binning is going to last 5 minutes or something.
10 minutes it is.
10 minutes.
A 10 minute
so,
sin bin.
So you could easily, in a Sunday league game, get 5 players in a bin.
Yeah, especially if everyone's a decision and everyone swears at the ref and they're... Yeah.
6 players in the bin, 5 players on the pitch.
I don't know. They've obviously... Well, they must have some kind of contingency. I guess they're still participating in the game. They're just not... But yeah, the rule is you've got to have 7 players on the pitch. I don't know. That's something that I will
if only
keep tabs with my friend.
If only we could, like BT Sports, go over to a referee in a studio now and ask him, Graham Poll, come in.
We're getting there from our studios in Brighton. We're getting there, the live link up.
Alf Bucksh.
Who is he want?
Referee.
Is that who you'd want as our referee?
Yeah, Alf. Lester Shapter.
Not Uriah Rennie.
Lester Shapter from Torquay. Uriah Rennie would be good. Yeah, I'm just trying to come up with random referee names from the past. Trelford Mills.
Paul Odcock.
I'm going back further.
You are. You're showing your age.
I'm showing my age.
Yes. Right. So anyway, experiments in football. Yeah, League Cup. No extra time, straight to penalties. Not the ABBA format of penalties, just a normal, straightforward penalty shootout. That's how it is. There it is.
Yeah, I thought the ABBA thing was a sensible innovation, but it seems to have didn't really catch on. Obviously, it wasn't in the World Cup.
No.
So
there we are. So I think we've covered all the news, Albion news. So we better get ahead with the game. We've got small matter of Manchester United coming to town. The second home game in a row, we'll be playing them in the league.
Yeah, we only beat them in the Premier League at home. We've got 100% record against Manchester United at home in the Premier League.
Yes, that is the stat to go by.
That's the only one.
Positive stat.
The only one I care about.
Tony Bloom put a message out saying about that was probably the highlight of in recent memory that game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was magnificent. Obviously, we had beaten Arsenal a few weeks prior, which was also pretty special. We were arguably fortunate in that we played both of those sides when they weren't at their highest ebb. But then on the flip side, we played Liverpool and Chelsea and Man City when they were, flying. I know Man City, it was the first game of the season, but they were ready to go and win that league.
Yeah.
So, yes, swings and roundabouts. Man United it's still not all sweetness and light and happiness there, clearly.
It's a will, because I obviously watched the game, the Leicester game, that the Friday that kicked off.
Yes.
Leicester, dominated the game without really creating anything. One thing, definitely compared to, I know Man United had the best defensive record last season, but you wouldn't arguably say they had the best defensive players. They looked a lot more organised against Leicester than I had noticed from previous years. I know it's the first game of the season, so you can't read too much into it. But yeah, I think Fred, their addition to midfielder, said last week, I think he's a yellow card waiting to happen most games. He's quite tigerish and in his style of play. I don't know how It depends how they're up there. I think the Pogba Mourinho thing, I think that's a bit of media playing out, a bit of. I don't really think that affects what happens on the pitch, if I'm honest.
Well, you would think that, but then there do seem to have been matches in living memory where Pogba seemed to be pretty much ignoring what Mourinho was telling him to do. So I don't know.
But he's given him the captain's armband. He was the best player for them on Friday. He's going to have the captain's armband again.
Yeah, he did play in the Amex game, didn't he?
Did he? I didn't see him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, I mean, it was such an abject performance that I don't think we can expect them to be as bad. You know, not taking anything away from our performance on.
No, but they
didn't.
Yeah, and he was Mourinho was making a point with the strikers that he picked, and I suppose we can probably expect to have to deal with Lukaku.
Oh, I don't know.
Well, maybe not.
He didn't when he came on. I mean, he missed an absolute sitter against Leicester when he came on.
Well, he does do that, but he also scores a huge number of goals.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether. I think that could be more of a problem than the Pogba one. I don't know if he's got as much trust in Lukaku as maybe we'd believe from outside. You know, like you think Lukaku scores lots of goals. But
well, he does. I mean, the statistics are there.
He does score a lot of goals.
He does score a lot of goals.
But when you break it down and the types of goals and how those goals and the chances missed and all of that kind of thing and how he affects the game.
He's still pretty young.
He is?
He's still only 24, I think, 24,
25, yeah. Him and Kane are similar.
Yes. I mean, I suppose I'm just thinking, our defence hasn't exactly been watertight in recent months. And, we conceded 2 against Watford. Manchester United, we should probably be, vigilant.
I think it does depend how they set up both games against them last season. The away game, we took it to them as well. It was probably one of the only away games where we actually had a go. Yeah, which was not expecting that. So I'd imagine we'll have a go tomorrow. We'll definitely have a go tomorrow. I think Basuma has to start.
But where? In for?
Well, Knockout raises his game for this. I think you switch him over and you play those two. Basuma,
I thought, was more central-minded.
I think you allow him to go and play slightly out and go up. Potentially, I don't think you'd want to break up the midfield, the central midfield partnership.
Apparently, March had a terrible game last week. Perhaps he hasn't shown consistent form. When he looks good, he looks really, really good. But there's, in the style of a lot of young wingers, there are a lot of games where he frustrates, disappoints, goes missing. And obviously we do have our record signing, Jahanbakhsh, probably champing at the bit to make an appearance as well. Most people seem to think that Houghton will be typically cautious and conservative in terms of not making wild changes, but we'll
definitely have a change at right back.
Well, Bruno's not as bad as expected, but it's probably going to be Montoya. Although, apparently Charlotto obliquely messaged Izquierdo in the week saying something along the lines of see you when I see you kind of thing. But we don't know if that was to Izquierdo saying we don't know how long your injury is going to be, or it was Charlotto saying I'm probably going out on loan. So we shall see, or being sold even before the continental window.
Well, that's the thing. There's still a couple of weeks more of which I'm sure it will rear its head in the last few days rather than at this period. But there are obviously the possibility of some goings from the squad, which is it's a big squad. We've got a big squad.
Yes. But I think he might make, apart from the unenforced change, it wouldn't surprise me if he did make 1 or 2. But
Murray to lead the line?
I think it will be, won't it? Andone's not fit, we know. Locadia would mean a complete change of it's the eternal problem with Locadia is that unless we completely change the system, and Houghton totally throws everyone a curveball, possibly including Mourinho by playing the 3-5-2 or something tomorrow, which would be interesting. But I don't know. It's like, part of me just thinks, do what you know you're good at and stick with the plan. Maybe change one or two players. Part of me thinks, let's go for the much vaunted 3 at the back, bring on Balogun, wing backs, 2 up front.
Well, that would then lend, Basuma and Gross in behind whoever's playing. You could still only have one up top and play those 2 in behind, look to run off and. Yeah, interesting. Lots of has last week dented your confidence because big stuff. Yeah, well, I can see in your face, but I have to ask the question as well. But do you feel deflated going into this game because we should feel excited because it is our first home game of the season. I know it's when I come to the town, but yeah, I'm
sure I feel excited. Going to the game, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there and I'll be loving it. And part of me will be thinking this is almost a free hit in some ways, but because we won last season, it doesn't feel like we'll just hope we play well, and because we know we'll be probably realistically if we don't get anything tomorrow, we're going to be 0 for 9 after 3 games, unless we do something miraculous something miraculous at Liverpool, and then those subsequent games become already like stupidly high pressure affairs with people calling them must-win games.
Must win.
But it will start to feel like that if we lose. I mean, again, to go back to Crystal Palace last season, no doubt they were saying their second and third games were must-win games. As it turned out, they didn't need to win until their ninth game.
November.
So that sort of makes a mockery of that concept. But yes, I am with the usual heady mix of excitement, anticipation and trepidation going into a home game against Manchester United. Because I just feel like it's far too soon to start thinking about us not playing in the Premier League anymore. Like we had.
Oh, Leon,
that's what I'm saying.
All right, okay, right. Sorry,
it's
far too soon. You're not good. Good. I thought you were. Yeah, I thought you were.
Even at the end of this season, I'm not ready to let this dream die.
Good. Sorry, I misinterpreted your words there. So with that, predictions. What are you? This is a heart, head, completely torn. Depends on the formation.
Yeah. There's no Super 6 predictions for us this week because it's on Sunday at 4:00.
Super Sunday.
But Sky still had Paul Merson giving it 2-1 to Man United. Mark Lawrenson gave it 2-1 to Man United. And Tom Grennan, who I'd never heard of, singer and Manchester United fan, says 0-2. So everyone's put Man United down for the win, but no one's suggesting it's going to be easy for them particularly. So
no, Man United don't tend to
win comfortably.
I know they did at the start of last season. A few games, I think but yeah, they're not going to come down and score 3, 4, 5. That's definitely not going to happen tomorrow, he says.
So what are you saying?
I actually think because it was so bad last week, I'm expecting a positive reaction. I'm expecting the flags to create a massively great atmosphere at the Amex. It's a Sunday afternoon, which isn't the best time, but I think being the first game of the season, there's going to be a great atmosphere. And I think there's going to be a bit of expectancy in the crowd as well, just because of the result last time out. I think there will be a certain section of fan that will be expecting a replication of that result or performance, and I think that will feed through to the players. I think we'll see a tight game, but I do think it will be a draw.
Okay.
But I have a feeling it might be 0-0.
Do you know what? I was just thinking that. So I'm gonna we're gonna have the same prediction this time.
We're both going for 0-0, and I don't want it to be 0-0. I always want there to be goals, but I just have a feeling that their defensive, I don't think we'll break them down, but I also don't see them breaking us down. because I think we'll actually have a lot more of the ball. I just don't think we'll fashion that chance to create. We didn't. Yeah, and it depends who we play. It depends how the style we play. If we play open attacking football, we could get caught out.
What I would like, as wonderful as the previous win was, I would like we had a discussion on here with our friend Paul about celebrating the goal because it was goal decision system, the grass header. I would like one this time to just go straight in the back of the net.
Yeah, that was a very...
Because obviously it was wonderful, and yeah, it's true, you sort of get to celebrate twice, and then it's nice when it's confirmed, but I didn't quite get that explosion of we've just scored against Man United like I did when we scored against Arsenal twice. So I would like, just like a really exuberant, emphatic bursting of the onion bag.
But would you care if, say, what was it? Was it Jan Vertonghen was 9 millimeters over the line? We wouldn't accept that.
If that's the option.
If that's the case, you'll take it. Yeah. But ideally, we'd like to see the net bulge.
Yeah. We could get our prediction wrong by only by the one goal that happens in the 96th minute, which is a screamer into the middle of the goal from Brighton and Hove Albion.
Okay, there we are. So if have your say, get in touch at TAM Radio Show. We've got a poll. We've been talking about the game, the flags, big talking points. We were looking at 48% of you happily waving your flags and creating an atmosphere. The final results are in, and
48%. The poll ended as you said that. Amazing.
Wow,
48%.
It's like this is planned.
No,
it was pure chance.
Prepare. Yes, my flag will be waving 48%. So if they put out 30,000, well, I'm not sure exactly because there'll be a few thousand Man United fans. So
say 24,000 flags.
Yeah, so 48%.
11,000 odds,
which is quite a lot of flags,
yeah.
and it will look good on the telly. 26% of people will be taking their flags home and putting them in the bin, or leaving them there to be
used again for next season,
again possibly, or but I think they give them out in buckets actually sometimes for certain games for kids to wave. So I think that's quite nice. But yes, the ambivalent crowd. 26%. I guess some of them will be waving because they'll get swept up in the in the moment.
There we are.
Like me. That's what happens. Because generally I'm a bit ambivalent to flags, but then I think back to the Doncaster game, the first game at the Amex, and I've still got a little video of that, and it felt amazing.
It does always look amazing when you see a stadium of flags, but it's that thing of being that person actually waving it. It's like that thing. You imagine if you're in a nightclub and then they just turn all the lights up and turn the music off, and you suddenly think, what am I doing? I don't know what you're talking about. Nightclub? At our age, what?
Well, I'm remembering
going back in.
You went out last night.
This is true.
Not to a club, though.
No. So, Man United tomorrow, 4:00, or is it 4:05? I forget.
4, I think.
It is 4:00, but normally it kicks off. I don't know. With TV games, they normally, I don't know.
You've got to wait for Martin Tyler to say it's live.
Yes, very good impression. We've got so obviously we cover the first team, but we also cover the under-23s and the women's team. Nothing really to report from the under-23s as they've had no game since the Liverpool 0-0 draw at the first game of the season. They've got Arsenal on Monday night. Again, another away game. One thing of note, though, obviously their game won't be opening the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. That definitely won't be happening.
No.
So
Tottenham playing at Wembley.
Yes.
This weekend.
Yes. Right. And for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's a bit of a shame. But they're away at Arsenal. The women's season kicks off on Sunday as well. A lunchtime kick-off away at Chelsea in the Continental Cup. So their first two games are cup games. It's a bit weird. The cup games are all at the start of the season.
There's always something quirky about the women's season.
But it's a bit more regular than previous years. And so other news this week, their first league match against Liverpool on the 23rd of September. It's not their first league match, but it's their first live game on BT Sports. The first time the women have ever been chosen for live coverage. And that's now a 12:15 kickoff, of course, playing their games at Crawley Town at the Broadfield Stadium. So that's quite quite good for the team. But
fab, yeah. So did see the women briefly at the open training day. They take to the field after the men, and Hope Howell's there, and all the coaches, and looking good.
Looking good. You know what's going to come up in a minute. I've just got to.
He's sorting out his reggae bed. Everybody.
Just got to get it going. There it is. Love this. It's the non-league roundup. So all of the non-leagues are now in play, underway. They've all played a couple of games. Worthing briefly climbed to the top of the early Bostik Premier Division with 2-1 wins in 2 days, coming from behind against London opposition Wingate and Finchley, and then away at Carshalton Athletic. Whitehawk, so they were relegated last year, stormed to a 4-0 lead within 39 minutes against Harlow Town. Happy days for them. They eventually finished 4-2, and then they drew 1-1 on Wednesday night away at Leatherhead. I think Jimmy Bullard's still there. Oh, yeah. Lewis failed to score in their first 2 games of their promotion to the Bostik Premier, losing 1-0 at home to last season's Bostik League South winners Carshalton, and then they drew 0-0 away at Tonbridge Angels.
It's a big step up.
Big step up. Need to get their goal-scoring boots on. Bodeshill Town lost their first opening game for 6 years as they went down 1-0 to Potters Bar Town, and then they followed that with a 1-1 draw at Harlow Town. And finally, Bognor Regis Town are the place for goals, a 2-2 draw on the opening day against Haringey Borough, and then they came away with a 3-1 win at home to Merstham on Tuesday night. So positive for most clubs in the Bostik Premier. Lewis with work to do, and Bodeshill Town, but they've all got points at least.
Is it a 46 game season? Is it that many teams?
It will be 46 games, yeah. Good math. In the FA Cup, of course, my favourite competition in the whole wide world, Shoreham and Lancing progressed straight away with impressive victories against Broadbridge Heath and Haywards Heath Town respectively. They were through to the preliminary round proper. And so was Saltdean United, but they needed a replay to go through. But sadly, it's the end of the road for Peacehaven and Telscombe, whose FA Cup dream is over for another year. So the games, if you're free today, I'll only pick the games where teams are at home. Bognor Regis Town are at home to Bishop Stortford. Lancing are at home to Newhaven. Nice little game that will be. Shoreham at home to Eastbourne Town, and Peacehaven and Telscombe are at home to Hassocks. As always, if you're free this afternoon, go and support one of your local clubs near you. You'll have a good afternoon, and there'll be some nice football on play as well.
And there'll be a while you're watching?
If you want. That's what I love about them.
Does every ground have that?
Every ground has that facility. Yeah. It's probably one of the pluses, unless you're driving there.
Yeah, unless you don't drink, but it's a nice option to have.
So we are. We're at the end of the non-league roundup. I do want to say that if you want to catch up with any of the non-league goals, a new football show, the Sussex Football Show, on YouTube every Monday night, 8 p.m. Of course, then it's up there for eternity. But you'll see all the footage in a match of the day style, short, like 15-minute video, all the best of the goals from the Sussex football.
Who's presented it?
I might have something to do with it. Right,
some tin pot outfit.
Nice quality programme. A big shout out to your instant replay as well, who provide all the footage for that one. And with that, that's the end of the just like that. It's done. So that's
what happens when you don't have a producer.
Well, you know, I think we do very well ourselves doing this.
Slick.
So our final few thoughts of the week. What's grinding your gears?
What's grinding my gears?
Yes, in Peter Griffin style.
Very little actually. I've not been angered by. If we're talking football, I've not been angered by anything. It's more just a sense of sort of concern, and as I say, it's the manner of the performance. I just felt like it just felt so flat and despondent. It felt like a mid-season game where the result wasn't that crucial, and as we say, it may turn out that losing the opening game isn't that crucial, and we get the 40 points or whatever we need this season and stay up, and that's fine. But it set a bad tone, and I'm sure that's what Houghton will be most concerned about. It's one thing losing your opening game, it's another thing not turning up for it. I don't think we were the only team. I mean, we're not even in, I know league table at this point is kind of a farce, but we're not in the bottom, we're not in the relegation zone, even in the formative league table at this point. And some of the teams who we already sort of
have earmarked for.
Yes, are already down there. So.
Yes.
But it would be nice if it wasn't a season where we're relying on 3 teams to be just worse than us. It would be very nice if we, even more than we did last season, kind of create our own destiny and get ourselves into a position where we're not even really thinking about the relegation zone.
That would be nice if it was comfortable, say February, end of February, early March, and we're sort of not having to have that look over our shoulder.
Because it wasn't certain last season until relatively
until
late.
we played Man United. Yeah,
exactly. So, yes, concern, but not never desperation.
Did you? I mean, obviously there was, but did it feel good having, Soccer Saturday, the radio on, Match of the Day on? Did you feel like routine? The football routine is back in my life.
Yeah, and coming back here, obviously. Yes, I think almost every football fan that I know had a fantastic World Cup summer, and I suppose it does feel like that only just ended in some ways. But on the flip side, it also felt those few weeks between that ending and the season started also did a couple of points feel like an eternity. So definitely I've definitely always got the appetite for it when it comes back, and especially once the stories start. And I don't mean the gossip, I mean the story of the season, of how the teams are doing. That's the most interesting thing. Once that starts developing and becomes its own kind of very addictive mini soap opera. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And I think I've enjoyed the whole, because I thought I was going to be footballed out. I was footballed out by the end of last season. Yeah, it was, and then the World Cup was this fantastic thing that just took over a month of which I wasn't expecting at all. So it was a lovely surprise. Yes, I did worry that yesterday was too soon. Last week was going to be too soon, but it absolutely wasn't. I actually wasn't covering a game, so I could literally go. I went from here. I watched. Obviously, I was a bit poorly, so I was sort of bedbound, but I managed to watch 4 games of football last weekend, whilst listening to results and goals coming in from others. Match the day, that's brilliant. Yeah, doesn't get any better than that. No. So happy days. Football is back. The last thing I'll leave it on is a positive, because I like to leave on a positive, and we have mentioned it briefly on the show. At least no one's hidden from how bad last week was, so it can't be much worse. I think if it's going to be that bad, it can only get better. Yeah, I think I still get the sense that even with all the new additions and arrivals, I do get the sense that there's a pretty good tight-knit communal feeling about the squad, and I think they all have so much respect for the manager. I can't imagine, I'm sure it has happened in his career, but I can't imagine Chris Hughton losing this team. I think they will want to respond for him, and he's definitely got, as lovely as he is, and everyone respects him and admires him and says he's a great bloke, he's definitely got a steely side, and I don't think the players would feel happy about repeatedly disappointing him, and I don't think they've got any intention of doing that. Well, I don't think they'd last too long in the team if they did. No, quietly steely. Yes. Yeah. And on that one, we'll say thank you very much for listening. It's been the Albion Mag Radio Show. I've been Dean Kilford. I was Leon Cox. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook at TAM Radio Show. We're going to leave you with a song from our friends at Jalapeno Records. This is the Allergies with Can't Keep Working This Hard.
Give it to me now. Hey, girl. Guess what, baby? Well, there's a dirty job someone got to it. And most of us have done our share. We buckle up and put our backs into it. But folks like you seem strangely unaware. Now I'm not the type to sit and judge anybody.
One world, one love, one BTN.